Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive, really exciting shift in modern web development. We're diving deep into ASP.NET Core, the cross-platform evolution. Look, if you've spent any time building web apps, you already know how absolutely crucial it is to have a framework that doesn't just work on day one, but actually scales, adapts, and survives the test of time, right? Well, Microsoft totally reimagined their classic framework to give us what's basically become the definitive choice for modern web apps. And honestly, understanding how they pulled this off is absolutely essential for anyone touching a backend today. So let's get into it.
Let me ask you a quick question. Have you ever felt completely, hopelessly locked into one operating system? Yeah, it's a classic, deeply frustrating developer pain point. Historically, building robust, enterprise-grade applications often meant tying yourself to a single platform. You were just stuck with specific server licensing costs, massive infrastructure headaches, and a super rigid deployment environment that really limited your reach. You didn't just choose a framework back then, you basically chose an entire lifestyle that dictated your whole infrastructure. But, as we all know, today's fast-paced digital world demands total flexibility. There's just no way around it. Think about the massive leap we've taken in just the last few years. We used to rely heavily on traditional ASP.NET. Now, hey, don't get me wrong, it was incredibly powerful for its time, but it was also highly rigid, largely monolithic, and completely 100% locked into the Windows ecosystem. If you wanted to deploy, you were doing it on Windows Server, period. But contrast that old paradigm with ASP.NET Core. It's completely cross-platform, it's entirely open source, and it's built from the absolute ground up for high performance. It's a total paradigm shift. It fundamentally changes how we plan, build, and deploy our applications.
Okay, so here's our roadmap for today so you know exactly where we're headed. First, we're going to look at the cross-platform revolution. Second, we're looking under the hood at the architecture. Third, why it stands out. Fourth, real-world applications. And finally, we'll wrap up with the future of development.
Let's kick things off with part one, the cross-platform revolution, and how we're finally breaking down those old OS barriers.
The most profound change here is actually also the simplest one: true native cross-platform capability. ASP.NET Core lets you run your applications seamlessly on Windows, macOS, and Linux. I mean, imagine this real-world scenario. Half of your dev team prefers writing code on a Mac. The other half absolutely swears by Windows. And your production environment? Well, that needs to run on Linux. In the past, that was a total logistical nightmare. Now, everyone is happy. Because it's a completely free and open source framework, this gives businesses literally unprecedented flexibility. You are no longer constrained by those expensive server licenses or incredibly specific developer environments.
So a question that comes up all the time, especially from infrastructure teams and technical founders, is, can ASP.NET Core applications actually be hosted on Linux servers? And the answer is an absolute resounding yes. And here's the best part. This isn't just some clever workaround or a clunky emulator. The framework is designed to be fully and truly cross-platform. You get true native-level performance on Linux servers. This is an absolute game-changer for hosting costs, mostly because Linux virtual machines are generally way cheaper to spin up and maintain than those traditional Windows Server licenses. It instantly gives you incredible DevOps flexibility, and it saves your company serious money.
All right, let's move on to Section 2, looking under the hood. We know it runs anywhere, but how exactly is this framework built to achieve such incredible speed and efficiency?
The crucial concept to grasp here is the idea of a unified framework. In older iterations, developers had to juggle completely different setups for returning web pages versus returning API data. It was a hassle. ASP.NET Core brilliantly integrates the MVC, that's Model View Controller, and Web API frameworks into a single unified setup. For you as a developer, this means instead of writing entirely different routing and controller logic for your front-end web pages versus your back-end API endpoints, it's all managed under one single roof. You can create your web APIs and your web apps using the exact same underlying architecture. It's so much cleaner.
And that unified architecture brings some serious technical advantages that we really need to unpack. First up, high performance and scalability. It is deeply optimized to handle massive amounts of concurrent traffic without even breaking a sweat. Second, it has built-in dependency injection right out of the box. Now, if you aren't familiar, think of dependency injection kind of like going to a restaurant. Instead of going into the kitchen and cooking the meal yourself, you just ask the waiter for exactly what you need and it's brought right to your table. In code, this means your app only asks for the tools it needs right when it needs them. It keeps things lean, highly testable, and loosely coupled. Third, it's remarkably modular and lightweight, which vastly improves your application's startup times. And finally, it features cloud-ready configuration, meaning it plays incredibly well with platforms like Azure, letting you easily leverage cloud computing capabilities without wrestling with super complex setups. With all of these architectural improvements, tech leads who are actively planning out their next major sprint often ask, does ASP.NET Core support a modern microservices architecture?
The answer is a huge yes. In fact, it's fundamentally perfect for microservices. Because of its highly modular and lightweight nature, developers can include only the exact components they need for a specific isolated service. So why does this matter? Well, smaller memory footprints mean dramatically faster cold starts and significantly lower container costs when you're deploying out to cloud environments. When you're trying to scale dozens or maybe even hundreds of independent microservices, that lean efficiency is exactly what you're looking for. Let's dive into Section 3, why it stands out. What gives this framework a distinct advantage in what is, let's face it, a very crowded, noisy landscape of web technologies?
Well, one of the greatest advantages is that it benefits from a massive global community of developers. Because ASP.NET Core is truly open source, it isn't just built in some corporate silo by a single isolated team at Microsoft. Not at all. It thrives on contributions from developers all around the world. And this collaborative environment leads to incredibly rapid improvements, blazingly fast bug fixes, and just a wealth of shared resources. It ensures that the framework stays completely up to date with the absolute latest technological advancements.
Now, we've talked a lot about the backend, but in today's dev world, a robust backend is really only half the battle, right? ASP.NET Core offers seamless integration with modern front-end frameworks like Angular, React, and Vue.js. This seamless interoperability allows developers to create incredibly rich, dynamic, single-page user experiences on the client side while still confidently leaning on all the raw power, security, and scalability of ASP.NET Core on the server side. It really is the best of both worlds. And speaking of power, none of this matters without enterprise-grade security. Security absolutely has to be a top priority from day one. ASP.NET Core excels here by providing built-in authentication, authorization, and data protection completely out of the box. It also includes active defense mechanisms against really common web vulnerabilities like cross-site request forgery or cross-site scripting. This helps dev teams safeguard their applications against potential threats immediately without needing to reinvent the wheel or endlessly patch together third-party security libraries.
Okay, let's move to Section 4, Real-World Applications. It's time to ground this technology in reality and see where it truly shines out in the wild. Let's look at how this framework actually solves complex challenges across a few different major industries. Think about massive e-commerce platforms. Here, the framework's raw performance ensures high availability and fast, secure transactions, even during those crazy, massive holiday traffic spikes. Then you have enterprise ERP systems. The robust, highly structured architecture easily manages massive, complex datasets and really intricate business workflows. For content management systems, or CMS, that modular architecture we discussed allows for highly customizable, tailored solutions that simply don't get bloated over time. And finally, for IoT, Internet of Things applications, its cross-platform nature and native cloud compatibility make it an absolutely ideal fit for managing thousands or even millions of connected devices seamlessly. Now, seeing those massive enterprise use cases, a very common and super relatable hesitation developers have when they're evaluating these tools is ASP.NET Core suitable for small projects? Like, is it total overkill if I'm just building a tiny application for a client? The answer is not at all. As we mentioned, ASP.NET Core is highly modular. Think of it like a giant box of Lego blocks. You don't have to carry the whole heavy bucket around with you. You just pull out the exact pieces you need to build your specific project. You don't have to load a massive, heavy, monolithic framework just to get a simple app off the ground. This lightweight, opt-in design makes it just as perfect for a weekend passion project or a small startup MVP as it is for a massive, globally scaled enterprise system. It scales up or down right along with you.
That brings us to our final section, the future of development. Let's look at the final verdict on exactly why this matters for your tech stack.
So, if you take away one crucial thing from this entire explainer, let it be this. ASP.NET Core is scalable, it's secure, and it's highly efficient. It has proven itself to be an absolute essential tool in the modern developer's toolkit. With its incredible performance benchmarks and its robust, mature feature set, it's an incredibly attractive, future-proof choice that's ready to meet the demands of whatever complex development challenges you have lying ahead.
Which leaves us with one final thought to ponder. As technology continues to evolve at breakneck speed, take a hard look at your current stack and ask yourself, is your framework truly ready to meet the demands of tomorrow? If you're tired of being locked in, slowed down by bloat, or paying those exorbitant hosting fees, it might just be time to rethink your infrastructure and experience the cross-platform evolution for yourself. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep building for the future.